Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised our DNA. Laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like they be zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live. 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside. Why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stat cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of Don's lies as Arjun act like he's surprised.
You know what, man? I just realized this is gonna be the first time people hear that on a,
You're right, and without further ado, I think it is time to reward our listeners with some very, very interesting information. So as you guys know, and this is really going out to all of our day ones out there, all of our longtime subscribers and new subscribers. That's
Southern
right.
California,
shit,
yeah.
replaying.
Oh no. Well, it's such a good song, it might as well replay. But for a while now, we've been doing this podcast, as the theme song goes, 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. And, it's been a lot of fun. We enjoy doing it for you guys, for our own entertainment, listening back to it. It's always a blast. And our main platform for sharing this with the world has been YouTube so far. But in the back of my mind, and in the back of Don's mind, we always wanted to strive for something greater. Strive for platforms that are more geared toward the podcast experience. And, both of us, we listen to different podcasts on Spotify, Google Music, Apple. We listen to music on those platforms as well. Me, primarily Spotify. And so we started looking into this. We started looking into how easy would it be to distribute on all these platforms. And, the first step for us was creating the logo. And as you guys know, for a few episodes now, we're rocking the new SoCal DNA logo. Don has contributed his own handwriting, his own penmanship to be our official font. You won't find this font anywhere on the internet.
Hell yeah.
Don, of course, he's inspired by the street graffiti of downtown LA.
Oh yeah, some of my work is up there too.
There you go. Probably over the 405, the 110, 105, maybe even down south over here on the 55 and 133. You never know.
It's too nice. It's too nice down here, man.
It's too nice. That's right. They clean it up. See, Don paints one day, but the next day they clean it up. So Don just stops coming back.
Man. My paint fund is exhausted. It's been 2 weeks. Man.
I know. But so after we got the logo down, we thought, you know what, we have no other excuses. Let's go ahead and get this done by pretty much end of September. I think that was our internal goal.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked into it. We found Anchor to be the main host and distributor, which is completely free. So shout out to Anchor.
Shout out.
Thanks to them, we're able to do something very special, which is finally share this podcast, share the SoCal DNA with Spotify listeners, Google Music,
worldwide,
Apple. We're on a bunch of other ones that I don't even know, I don't even use.
Yeah,
we're on multiple platforms, but primarily we're very proud of being on Spotify. And so, Don, I don't know if you're streaming, if you're sharing the Spotify page.
Mm-hmm. But it's right up in center.
There you go.
Or top left-ish.
There you go. As you can see, we got our logo up there. SoCal DNA. Beautiful people right there. And more beautiful because we're cartoonified, right? We're like cartooned and, animated out. But I think it works. For the people that haven't really delved into the logo, we can just give you a brief idea. Obviously, it starts with the yin and the yang, right? So we got the D, we got the A. Both sides of the yin and the yang living in this harmony.
It's great because the darker one between us is on the white side.
It's perfect. Contrast. It's all about contrast, Don. I learned that in elementary school. Always have the darker people in the white background so you can see them clearly. Otherwise, I might just blend into the black. You never know. But my skin isn't as light as it used to be when I was born.
Shit.
So yin and the yang is the frame of it. But then we thought, instead of just the usual divider, let's make it something special. Let's make it something unique. And what's more unique than a strand, the double helix of DNA.
Yeah.
And if you guys notice, the beady-eyed observers of our podcast
Yeah.
will notice that the colors are very unique as well. We
The
have
beady eyes? Wait, the
beady eyes,
eyed?
beady eyes, the very meticulous watchers and listeners, the
See,
ones that pick up.
I always thought
Yeah.
beady eyed meant like weird eyed, like you got like those bug eyes, those round black like full iris coverage eyes.
I actually thought it was the opposite. Like beady meant that you're really like focused in, like narrowed in on something, whereas bug eyes is like you're just like a deer in the headlights.
Maybe.
Everything's coming into you. But in any case, I could be wrong about that phrase. Don might be right, but we're gonna say I'm right for the.
I'm more right. I'm more right.
I'm more right. Yeah. I know what that refers to. Anyways, so the colors, obviously, we bleed purple and gold all day, every day. So we got to rep the Lakers. We got to rep Kobe Bryant a little bit. So we chose purple and gold for that strand, as well as the ring of the yin and the yang. And as we said before, that is Don's handwriting, the genuine, bona fide signature. Not really signature, but just penmanship, SoCal DNA, the D and the A. And there you have it. We took a lot of pride. And of course, it wouldn't be a proper podcast without the Don belting one from the bellows of his stomach.
You just gotta let it out. No holds bars. That's what you're gonna get on this podcast. Just unfiltered, pretty much unadulterated material.
That is true. And I feel like there's no better way than to start off this podcast than talk about what you're sipping on today. Ooh. So Don, what is the spotlight sip of the week?
All right, so this is gonna surprise you, man. It's gonna surprise you.
Okay.
But I am actually drinking some whiskey. I'm sipping on a whiskey with a little bit of mint and a little bit of simple syrup. And you know what they call it? They call it.
I have no idea. What do they call it?
A mint julep.
I was gonna guess that. I was like, nah, it can't be right.
Hey, you've been getting all your bets wrong. See, that's why I'm like you're questioning yourself now, like subconsciously.
I am.
I
am. I'm deathly afraid of just embarrassing myself on the podcast by being wrong repeatedly. Although I am, the sharp-eyed viewers will know I'm wrong half the time, but I cover it up. I cover it up with some confidence. That's all it is. So the whiskey in particular, Don, which brand of whiskey are you enjoying tonight?
Oh, so right now I'm rocking some Four Roses.
Four Roses? Well, I've never heard of that brand of whiskey before. Tell us more about this Four Roses. What do you like about it?
Well, I mean, I'm trying things out. A little bit different. I always liked mint juleps. It was something that, I made for my wife and her buddy when they were over here over the weekend. Just, hanging out while I was doing all the hard labor outside. Decided to get them something because I felt like drinking something hard that night after a long day of toiling away in the soil.
Sure.
My yard that's fucking compacted as shit, by the way. It fucking sucks. Sorry
to hear that.
But yeah, no, Four Roses. Whiskey is a wider class of liquor. So if I want to get more specific, Four Roses is a bourbon. It's just different grain profiles basically for what derives the alcohol. And I got this and some Elijah Craig, which I think I'll bring in some maybe next podcast.
Very good. I think that is a good idea. And for those that don't know, Four Roses Bourbon has been named one of the icons of whiskey in America. Mm-hmm. They got the award for Master Distiller, Master Blender of the year 2020. So shout out to them. Shout out to that. What do you call it when they make whiskey? They're not a brewery, are they? They're a distillery?
Yeah.
Distillery. Okay, yeah. Interesting. I'm still learning about the ins and outs, the lexicon of the alcohol world. But I will say it is nice and refreshing, pun intended, to hear you talk about some liqueurs for a change.
Yeah, you gotta switch it up, man. Gotta switch it up. And
I appreciate that.
Beer is fantastic. But then, after a long day of work, a lot of physical work where you're both physically and mentally tired. You want something that won't weigh you down too much as a beer would, especially the kinds of beers that I drink.
Sure.
So I wanted something just nice, easy to sip on. No need to put down a large amount, and it could take quite a bit of ice to help hydrate me at the same time, if that even happens. So
I always wondered about that. Like for me, whenever I do enjoy some fine liqueur, I maybe put one ice cube in there.
sure.
Sometimes I just have no ice at all and just enjoy it sip by sip,
Hmm.
at I guess a room temperature. But
Yeah, yeah.
your preference is to kind of let the ice melt a little bit and kind of get it like a little bit watered down, so it's
Well,
easier to go down, or no?
because it's a cocktail, I ice it. If I'm drinking something, as you just said, where it's neat, then yeah, I'll typically take it straight with no ice.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. And some things you do have to have neat. Other things can get rather messy.
Mm.
And since we are talking about Spotify, I might as well bring this up. Some of our listeners may know that Joe Rogan has recently signed an exclusive deal to bring his Joe Rogan Experience podcast
Shout out Joe
on
Rogan.
Spotify. Shout out to Joe Rogan. But whenever you sign this kind of an exclusive deal, especially if you're somebody like Joe Rogan, who's known for very, free thinking, quote unquote, opinions, sometimes you may say things that just are incorrect, could be fake news. Sometimes you may make some derogatory comments about
As
people,
he
about
often
certain
does.
groups,
Yeah.
as he often does.
But
And so,
in the right way, in a joking manner. He's a comedian after all, so I don't mean he's being rude just for the sake of being rude or for getting followers and listeners. He's a comedian. He's joking about things, but it could rub people the wrong way.
so this is the interesting question that arises. Obviously, Joe Rogan has agreed to this huge, probably biggest deal that Spotify has ever given out.
What is that
Um,
deal? What's the specifics of it?
that is a great question. I think for that, we will have to look into the article that I have saved off here. So this
Ooh.
article, of course,
We got to come
is
up with like
from...
a soundboard that like whenever you bring up an article, like do 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 article
Yes, yes. Can we do that? Can we work on that? I'll look into that. Let's make a note on that one. I'll look into how to do a digital soundboard.
There we go.
Okay, so this article that I found is from Vulture, and it's titled "Joe Rogan is already a headache for Spotify" by Nicholas.
Vulture.
Yes,
Vulture.
Vulture. Yes,
You're gonna start
Vulture.
off your first Spotify referenced article to be Vulture.
Well, isn't it better than the Oxford Student Journal? You feel me? I think this is a step up.
Oh, it's a step up. It's between that and the Anteater Press, but we'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take
Your
it.
breath. Zot, man. Zot for life. So, okay, this is a multi-year distribution deal. And it is by far the richest deal. And it's, in fact, so rich that the article that I pulled up here doesn't even mention the figure. But you can imagine it's somewhere in the millions, if not.
Yeah, especially if it's
maybe...
exclusive to it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Probably tens of millions. And the interesting thing was, from this news alone, Spotify stock soared for like a day or two.
Yeah. Well, because Joe Rogan's podcast, if I remember correctly, is the #1 most listened to podcast in the world.
I think so. I think it is. And on Spotify specifically, I think before he signed the deal, he was followed closely behind by Joe Budden. So there's something with the name Joe, right? You got the Joe Rogan Experience, you got the Joe Budden podcast. Seems to be very popular. If one of our names,
you got any friends named Joe?
Joe, maybe in elementary school, I might have to.
We're gonna have to
reconnect on Zanga. Zanga days and see if he's still in my top 8 for MySpace. It's been a while. It's been a while for sure. But one thing that I do want to bring up specifically about Joe Rogan, do you think, given that he's in this position of power, obviously he is the head of his podcast,
Sure.
he signed his monster deal.
Sure.
Do you think now he has more responsibility to kind of filter what he says? And if he does let something slip, like for instance, he said something, he reported some fake news when he was talking with some guy, Douglas Murray, who's the conservative British political commentator. Surprisingly, I don't know of this guy. British political commentator that I don't know. But, he reported some
Was it on
fake
Vulture?
news. Yeah, it's on the Vulture article. and so what I want to ask of you is, do you think it's incumbent on Joe Rogan to periodically make these apologies if he does mess up on the podcast?
No, I don't think so. I think, I mean, it's ultimately going to come down to the terms of the contract. But
Exactly.
if we kind of subside that and speak from, our heart of hearts about the issue, which we'll normally do, and we'll probably always do moving forward, I think Spotify signed him because he was unfiltered and raw and made things comedic in a broader sense. This just came about, I assume, because of the fact that he's made a move that is shaking the industry that nobody really believed in. I mean, you and I didn't believe in the podcast industry, and by golly, we're here now.
We're here. We're on Spotify.
And I'm sure you and I are also going to likely want to continue taking an unfiltered approach.
Can I just say something?
What's up?
It'd be just really funny. I want you to continue, but it'd be really funny if we also had a Twitter account where whenever I got something wrong, people would fact check us, and I'd be forced to issue a public apology. Pretty much on Tuesday night before the night of the podcast, I'd be like, I'm sorry guys, I messed up on these 7 things.
I'll try to be better tomorrow.
I'll try to be better, but I'll do that every week. I'll just apologize for
it's gonna be just copy and paste on one of your those cues that you have, those sticky notes on your desktop. It'll just be a standard message I'm sorry. You just gotta change the number and the date.
Right. There you go. But so continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and I think just like us, I don't think we're going to filter ourselves for the sake of money. I think in a broader sense, Joe Rogan says the things he says because he believes in it and truly does. And I feel like even though he may be spewing misinformation, to him it may be the best information he has at that point in time. So in hindsight, maybe he'll realize that maybe something else came up or his view has been skewed. But to apologize for something where he's not forcing people to listen to him, not forcing people to digest whatever he says, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's not a Four Roses taste, it's like a fucking fertilized soil kind of taste.
Which I'm sure you'd been eating over the weekend.
Dude, hey, it's nutritious as fuck, man. This is,
I'm sure.
You want to have a solid diet where you're going to be shitting out diarrhea and vomiting every now and then? Right there, fertilizer and soil. That's the way to do it.
I was going to say there's probably plenty of fiber in there, but maybe not. Maybe just laxative. It's
well, when you form that slip and slide with all that bacteria,
all right. Let's backtrack.
Fiber.
Let's backtrack this. Yes,
it's like a raft.
Oh my gosh. See, this is the kind of toilet humor you'll only get from the SoCal DNA. But actually, no, you won't. We will try hard not to give you this kind of humor.
I'll give it every week. But no, dude, I mean,
yeah,
I don't think he should apologize for it. I listen to Joe Rogan, not as religiously as I used to, given my new responsibilities in life and my new job.
Sure.
But he always makes a disclaimer when he says things that he knows are pushing the boundaries. They're like, hey, I'm a comedian. I'm trying to make people laugh. What I say shouldn't be taken so seriously. I'm just a normal guy having a conversation. That's what he says. And that's what I like about him. He's not trying to be what he's not. He is being a genuine, curious individual, asking experts often in the field. With every podcast, right? He brings in an expert of something or some sort of high-profile character, or sometimes low-profile character that he believes should be notorious for something in a good way.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but this also brings up bigger questions. Do media people, and I consider Joe Rogan a media personality now, because
so are we, by the way.
I guess so, and it feels good to say that. Although our media, audience is probably a fraction, 0.0001%.
It still counts.
It still counts. And shout out to all 7 subscribers on YouTube. We're talking about you. That's right.
Yeah.
You and only you. We're talking about you. And we hope that all of you, at least some of you, also follow us on Spotify, because that seems to be our Yeah, it's desperate, but we do need every single follower that we can get. We're rocking 2 right now. We have a solid 2. We won't tell you who those 2 are, but know that you hear them quite often on the podcast. But anyways, with Joe Rogan, I think it's interesting because he is a media personality, and I think in this climate that we're in this political climate, this social climate, maybe it's more important to report the truth and at least comment on the truth
Sure.
rather than perpetuate some falsehoods, right? Because that can be dangerous.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, and I agree. But given that he pumps out podcasts, what seems to be on a daily basis, and these are long form podcasts, by the way, they're not.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned this. I'm glad you mentioned this because if this was something that's more like the SoCal DNA, about an hour, right?
Sure.
I think it's more manageable. You can really be clean, like the drinks that I sometimes prefer. But if you're like sometimes, rarely, if you're like Joe Rogan though, you're going for 2, 3, maybe 4 hours. I don't even know how long this guy goes for.
Yeah.
It's just like doing live commentary for a basketball game.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just kind of reacting and you're
Sure.
in the moment and you're not filtered. Like you said, he's known for that. He is a comedian. He gives you his raw, uncut opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if signing this deal, and as you mentioned, there may be some things in the contract that talk about maybe not doing stuff like this, not saying any kind of fake news.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if this is just the next step for him. Like now that he's made it to this level, quote unquote, sold out, I think he does have to be a little bit more buttoned up. So
Sure.
you may not have the same kind of unfiltered Joe Rogan that everyone's used to.
Sure.
It'll just be more like this.
Hey, and I mean, if that's the case, I don't blame him. Hell, you pay me a multi-million-dollar contract to talk into a microphone for 3 hours a day,
Sure.
for maybe 4 of the 7 days of the week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sign me up.
I'm doing it.
I'll say whatever you want. You know, like, but
I gotta say this is a hard transition. But have you ever thought about voice acting?
I try it all the time, man. I listen to the TV on mute just so I could practice.
Do you really?
No.
Man, I do that sometimes when I listen to these basketball games and like the players are being interviewed after. I just mute it. And if I have like, friends over or something, I say something like, both teams played hard. It was a hell of a game. It was really difficult, but, coach believed in us, gave us that speech during halftime, and we led the charge.
And it's like a commercial,
That's right. But I just got to say, I know we're doing the podcast now, but if at a later point, we ever get an opportunity to do some voice acting, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I don't know how you get about doing it, though. Like, do you know anybody in your greater social circle that has experience?
I have a couple buddies that actually do voice acting.
Oh wow!
Not a couple. Sorry, I have 2. Yeah, that is a couple.
That is a couple. Wow, good at math.
But I'm not close to them.
I work in finance.
yeah, that's true, ladies and gentlemen. He's running the books for the world, and he had to figure out just now that a couple meant 2.
No, well, because I was counting. But the thing is, I'm not close to him.
Okay.
Like one of them is an ex-boyfriend of a somewhat distant colleague.
Sure.
And the other one was actually, I'm trying to remember if this person lived in Mesa Court or I just worked with him at Mesa Court. But he went the whole route of, working at Disneyland and now voice acting for Disney.
Tell me this, though. These 2 people, when you remember them in your face-to-face interactions with them, did their vocal cords, did their voices sound unique? Did they have something special about their delivery?
Nope. They seemed like normal, everyday talkers. If anything, they were a little more eloquent with their speech. In regards to like their vocabulary and the melodies they would speak with, right? They had a certain cadence where if that cadence were to slow down, you could tell it was a little more exciting, a little more suspenseful. But when they were speaking a lot louder, you could tell they were trying to tell a joke and be really happy about things. And I mean, I can't do it. I didn't do it justice there, but I'm sure you guys get the idea.
That's what you were doing? I had no idea. Oh, so ladies and gentlemen, Don was actually trying to do his best take for voiceover, and clearly he has no future in voiceover.
Sign me up, Disney. I'm ready. Sign me up.
He's ready.
3 hours, multi-million dollars. I will do it.
Finding Nemo Part 4 featuring the
Hell
D.
Yeah, it'll be Donnie, not Dory. We'll make it happen.
I like it. Voice acting, I know part of it is about just reading scripts for hours and hours and hours, and you have to do the same take over and over again.
Yeah.
And it also makes
you know what we should do?
Yeah. Yes.
We should probably file our own way of like being that like Google Maps voice.
Oh,
like,
can we?
Yo, turn left.
Can we? Yeah.
Yo, hey, turn quick, right?
Hey, you fucked up. Go back. You turn. Next, you missed this one too. Go to the next one. You'll be all right. Second Street works. You got it.
Oh shit.
Let's look into that too. I want to see if there's a way to like, capture our vocal signature, and use it for different things. And you know what? As a matter of fact, beyond the Google Maps, we can actually use our speech to do a lot of different things, like unlock computers. We can unlock, accounts, right? Like say you have you know how there's like the OK Google or
Sure.
Alexa or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
You can actually create your own catchphrase and train it like many times, so it can be used only for your voice signature to unlock like a secret account or whatever.
Ooh.
But extension for that would be, going back to our previous idea, capturing our voice signature with sound bites and maybe using them in kind of like a soundboard along with all the sound effects, right? So you got your sound effects for talking about Art of War, for talking about Spotlight Sip, reading an article, and then we kind of have these like sound bites that were really popular in the podcast, right? Like say you had said something like chocolate, right?
Sip one.
Sip one, there you go. So we'll look into those things for sure. And of course, having a Google Maps voice with the D riding shotgun. I mean, what better way to navigate the streets of LA, Compton, or Irvine than having the D riding shotgun?
Yeah, it'd purposely be late too. Be like, oh yeah, my bad. Should have turned right about a mile ago. It's all good. There's a gas station coming up. You
know what you do? Like if I'm using you as the voice signature for Google Maps, say I'm like going from, let's say, Irvine to Torrance, you'll just be randomly like pointing out things. Oh yeah, I've been there once. Food wasn't that great, and I'll be like, "What? Wait, what is he talking about?" Yeah, not a fan of that park over there. Too many rats. Like, what the fuck? Where are the rats at?
Yeah, it'll be like our own like map too, so it won't even be accurate, dude. You'll be like, like in the desert somewhere.
It's like the map that's given to us to kind of like describe things. It's like with Crayola. It's just crayon. It's just like very vague, like north, south, east, west. That's it. But
it doesn't even outline the route, dude. It's just an arrow.
General direction. I mean, there's mountains in the way, but we just strike right through. Just cut right through the mountains. But a lot of times with this voice acting, like I said, you are reading some script, but you have people that write these scripts too, and you oftentimes wonder what kind of talent it takes to be a writer. And let's actually transition to something a little bit more musical, if you will. Lyricism is a big part of music, and I would say especially hip-hop music, because more so than any other genre, the words per minute are much higher in hip-hop, at least in the hip-hop that I listen to. As Don would say, the 90s hip-hop, maybe the 2000s hip-hop.
Fucking adapt, man. Come on.
Yeah, I have a little bit. I do dabble with some of the young gunslingers out there, like your Tyler Heroes of the world, and Chance the Rapper. I liked a few of his songs. I can't say I'm a fan. But I do appreciate, and you told me this before, the younger rappers, they come with this energy, this unique energy that is not really about lots of words and sensical conversation or even intellectual thought, but it's more about energy to make you feel some type of way, to make you feel a vibe, to make you feel like, what, you can go up and do something. But all that aside, I bring up lyricism. I bring up how important lyricism can be in hip-hop music, because did you know, Don, that a rapper that we all are very familiar with by the name of Lupe Fiasco recently said
Oh.
that he is a better lyricist than none other than the King Kendrick Lamar. And in response, you guys may not know, but Kendrick is part of Top Dog Entertainment. That's his
TDE?
recording label, TDE. You already know. A lot of a lot of talented people on that label, huh?
Yeah.
You got Ab Soul, you got Kendrick, you got J Rock,
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber moonlights on the label from time to time. But so the CEO of TDE is Punch, this guy named Punch, and Kendrick oftentimes refers to Punch in his music if you listen sharply enough. And so Punch responded to this shot at Kendrick, this subtle shot at Kendrick, by just saying "lol," "lol," and everybody knew what he was talking about, and that got me thinking. Lupe Fiasco, he's getting up there in age a little bit. He's not really releasing music on a regular basis, and I would argue that he's no longer relevant to today's music scene. Nobody's really checking for Lupe. Nobody's really looking for Lupe. But that gives us an opportunity to look back at his legacy. And I remember one of his best albums, probably the album he's most famous for, is none other than Food and Liquor. Remember that one?
That was not his first. Was it his first? No, right?
I don't remember. It actually is his debut studio album.
Okay.
It's his first studio album. And it was great because he had production from an assortment of mega producers, including the Neptunes, Kanye West, and of course Mike Shinoda. And it was just really, really fresh at the time. And there were multiple hits from it. I mean, I remember Kick Push probably being one of my favorite songs back in the day when I heard it. And he has features from Jay-Z, features from Jill Scott. Overall, it was a very great debut album. Maybe not at the same level personally for me as a Get Rich or Die Trying, or even Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City, but I thought by its own right it was fantastic. And of course, Lupe has always been a little bit more conscious of the world, we can say socially conscious, and he definitely injects his opinion on his music. And so it's normal to think of Lupe as one of the better lyricists in hip hop. Flash forward, you got Kendrick Lamar, as I mentioned, Good Kid, Mad City. You got the Damn album, which was arguably more on the poppy side, but his most commercially successful release to date. And prior to that, To Pimp a Butterfly. So I ask you, Don, does Lupe rank up there with Kendrick when it comes to lyricism?
It's a tough question. If we're talking pure lyricism from a pure rap perspective, I don't think so. I think the things that Kendrick rap about and the accolades and respect Kendrick has in the industry far surpass Lupe Fiasco. Now, when it comes to relatability, I think Lupe can contend with Kendrick because I feel that Kendrick, as great of a rapper as he is, if it's outside of his quote-unquote more pop style, hit style tracks, they're not as relatable compared to Lupe's tracks to the masses. So in that sense, because Lupe doesn't have such an elevated repertoire of words to spit out and rap with, it knocks it down a few pegs that more people can easily accept and understand. So in that sense, maybe he's on par when it comes to reach. But when we're talking pure lyricism, no. Not by a long shot.
Interesting. Now, I completely disagree that he's on par with regards to reach. I think Lupe, even in his prime, even paled in comparison to Kendrick's reach when he just started off with Dr. Dre. So the reach argument, I don't really see. I do understand the lyricism argument in the same breath that, was it Jay-Z that said, if lyrics were what sold, lyrically I'd be Talib Kweli. But, after a while, I haven't been rapping like common sense. Something along those lines. Basically, he was kind of dissing them both while also paying homage to them by saying lyrics alone can't sell or give you that reach.
Yeah,
that
it's like
I've
you're
been
being the. It's good to be like in video games, or like in NBA or 2K, right? It's dope if you're gonna make a pure, what is it, glass cleaner, something like that.
The rebounder.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But then like, so you're gonna get every board, but then you're gonna fuck up everywhere else. Like, don't even try to bring it up court. Like, just go. Fuck it. Don't even play offense. Just stay there in the key. You'll be fine. You know.
That's a great analogy. You know, I also look back at a different archetype, the lockdown defender.
Sure.
You know, you could shut down anybody in the world, but you can't score a lick. You can't shoot a three if a life depended on it. So
and they always give you like the fucked up animation too, where he looks all weird while shooting.
Yeah, like basically the ball comes back down, like he's, you know what I mean? It's like all the way going behind his head.
Yeah, it's like a Lonzo Ball shot almost, you know.
Oh yeah. You know, the way to ruin my enthusiasm for that segment. As I digress back to Lupe Fiasco and food and liquor, and quite frankly, I don't want to spend too much time on Lupe Fiasco either. But I will say. You know, you probably found out some information about Lupe, what he's been up to lately. I think you wanted to tell me something about him, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, something you don't know about Lupe that I know about, as a more avid gamer than you are. He actually has entered tournaments for Street Fighter, which is an arcade game. I grew up with it. I'm sure Lupe grew up with it. That's why he still plays. It's a 2D fighter where there's iconic characters, and to me it's the most iconic fighting game, you know, right up there with like Mortal Kombat, and I think it's just between those two now. King of Fighters, maybe Fatal Fury if you have. But he's competed in that, and I still think he does play on a semi-professional level, or at least a high level. But more importantly, what I wanted to mention was, for my freshman year, they actually had Lupe Fiasco come to UC Irvine.
Oh wow, lucky you!
And this was when Kick Push was really hot, so he was still, you know, a growing and budding superstar that he became for a short period of time. But what I remember the most is it was between the main hall, it was on East Peltison, right between the parking lot behind the admin building and like that, I don't even know what they call it, that main center where there's a bunch of conference rooms. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But we were all there. We were having a good time. And at the end, you know, when they're all like, "Oh yeah, it was fun. Catch you next time." Da da da. He's like, "All right, it was fun. UC Riverside."
Oh.
And I was like,
That puts a sour taste in your mouth, man. That aftertaste.
Yeah, I was like, that was fun. That was fun. And then like everybody started booing. He's like, "Oh man, yeah, I'll catch you next time, UCR." You're like,
he said it again.
Yeah. So that's something I want to mention. That's so after that, I never really cared for him.
Wow, I'm glad you shared this harrowing tale about your experience watching Lupe Fiasco.
It was fun.
You know, I think, is he a great performer live? Like, is he pretty decent, or does he kind of like skip bars?
No. Well, he definitely skipped bars. I think he forgot his own lines every now and then. I think he was high out of his mind.
He forgot his own lines. That's not good.
And they didn't give him too much room to work with in regards to stage space. So I can't really say. I can't do it justice by saying yes or no.
All good. Of course, we know probably your best concert experience, which we won't get into this time, but I hope those two do reunite again and come out with Watch the Throne Part 2. That would be fantastic.
Definitely the best concert experience, yeah.
So now, we did talk about Lupe probably for more than enough time for the rest of this podcast, but Kendrick is someone who's remained kind of mysterious. He's always been a little mysterious, but especially in the last couple of years, ever since he dropped Damn, people thought that there would be another album coming. People actually thought that Damn was part of a duo consisting of Damn as part 1 and Nation as part 2. So together you get Damnation. But that turned out to be just rumors, fake news, as Joe Rogan likes to spread. And ultimately, we are left without a full Kendrick Lamar album since Damn, which came out, I think, like, it's got to be at least 3-4 years ago, right? It feels like it's been a minute, at least 3 years. So my question to you is, do you think Kendrick is going to surprise us before 2020 ends with a new album?
I don't think he's in a rush. It's up to him. I think what he's doing is he's probably adding some more tracks that he probably wants to, pay homage to, whether it be Kobe or Black Panther or something of that sort, revamping some of his verses to maybe fit some more current events. But you and I both know, and I'm pretty sure 90% of the world will agree, he's at the top. He doesn't need a rush. He doesn't need to throw out more albums. His discography. Am I saying that correctly? Discography.
Discography. You got it.
Is already Hall of Fame status. So he's
no.
probably... You don't think so?
No. Okay.
As a whole.
You're talking about 3 albums from a major label.
Yeah.
And I would argue that if I were to rank them personally for me, his first one, Good Kid, Mad City, then the Damn album, and then Pimp a Butterfly. Only because,
interesting.
Although Pimp a Butterfly was a work of art in its own right, I found that I didn't want to listen to it over and over again like I did for Damn, or like I did for Good Kid, Mad City.
It's one of those things where the reach that I was talking about earlier, it was dense. It was a hard listen. And I don't know if you know this, but To Pimp a Butterfly was actually taught as a course because there was that much material to digest in very reputable institutions. Some Ivy Leagues even did it.
As a matter of fact, they have done the same thing with Nas's Illmatic. So I agree. I think it is worth delving into to that level for sure.
So that's why it's interesting that you place it last. But it's for that reason. It's a hard listen, but a worthwhile listen at the same time if you're willing to really study it. It's not something that you're going to be banging your head to, first listen. You're going to be like, huh? Let me fucking replay that shit. Let me look this up on Genius really quick. And then even Genius, I bet, has like essays on it, bar for bar.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And to be honest with you, like, how I am usually with the artists that I really appreciate. I will listen to their album over and over and over again. Yeah. And I'll even go on Genius and kind of read up on the lyrics and understand all the references and everything. I think I might have done that for a few of the tracks of his second album.
Sure.
But I did that more often with Damn, only because I think if I enjoy the album sonically, it's more of a motivation for me to find out more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you vibe with it, and it hits you on a different level where it's not just all mental. Like you actually have physical, like stimuli that get you to move with it, and that's gets you on a whole different level.
That's right, and sometimes it's really about how you arrange the music. It's about how you decide which tracks to keep in, which tracks to keep out. Another way of describing this is organization, and I bring up organization because lesson 7.
You are getting good at these things, man.
I know. I was ready. To
everybody. There's gonna come a day. I assume it'll happen next week, where his segues are going to be rough.
I know.
They're going to be rough.
People know. I tend to have my bad days and my good days, but today was a good day, I think. So we are of course reading Dominic Cummins' The Ultimate Art
Dominic.
of War.
Where did Dominic come from? Hey, it's the first time with on Spotify, so I think you should give him his real name.
Okay, yeah. So I joke around because he has a very interestingly spelled name, but his real name is Anthony Cummins. So it's ANTONYCUMMINS, and the book that he wrote that both Don and I purchased copies of from Amazon is called The Ultimate Art of War: A Step-by-Step Illustrated Guide to Sun Tzu's Teachings. And for those longtime listeners, they know that we like to end our podcast, at least for the time being, with a unique lesson from the ultimate art of war that encompasses all of Sun Tzu's teachings. And we've been going through the 5 constant factors of war. And just to recap for the audience very briefly, the first of which was the way, and then you had heaven, earth, the commander, which we both liked. And finally, today, we close with the last of the 5 constant factors, which of course is organization. And so the ideogram is often translated as organization, discipline, routine, codes, laws, or even just way of. The original title of the art of war in Chinese uses the ideograms, I can't really say those things. They're just symbols, which together mean codes, matters, or ways of the military and soldiers. Here in the text, it refers to specifically systems of punishment, reward, and discipline within the ranks. Discipline means to take control of the following. Number 1, organization. The army must be divided into appropriate parts. These parts must have a station and position and a detailed roster of tasks that is easy for all to understand. All soldiers must know where they should be, when they should be there, and what they should be doing. Equally, they must know where they should not go and which activities they should not involve themselves in. Chain of command. There should be a defined military hierarchy with established protocols. If there is an issue, each soldier must know who to inform, and those informed must know who to consult to get the issue resolved. Logistics. Supplies and equipment must flow reliably. Troops need food and equipment, so there should be a proper procedure for obtaining, looking after, and storing equipment and rations, and replacing them when necessary. And for all of you warmongers out there, here's a war tip for you. A military encampment has to be regulated, and the whole army must be aware of the correct protocol for all situations. Now, I found this to be very, very relevant to the workplace. Like just kind of going through the main 3, constituencies of discipline. Organization, obviously, in work, most of us specialize, right? In some cases, you do wear multiple hats, which can be a good thing, can be stressful at times, but you typically specialize into a role, and you know who your boss is. You know, in some cases, if you have people that report to you, you know what you should delegate to them. And you also know what you're responsible for and what you're not responsible for. All of those things are very important. Chain of command ties into that as well. And logistics. I read logistics and I just think supply chain. I think of, just some stuff that I've been reading about. And, it's so true how the way that Sun Tzu, especially in this lesson, the last of the 5 constant factors of war, the way that he talks about organization being a vital part of winning war, it's very true in business as well. I think the more clear and I guess predictable structure that you have. I'm not saying have silos, but I'm just saying when you know what your role is and when you know who you can turn to for advice and who you're accountable to, I think it makes the whole cog, the whole machine, the cog in the machine, if you will, work smoothly. So what do you think, man? What do you think of this organization? Are you vibing with it?
Yeah. I'm expecting a cheat sheet, man. I want to know. But no, I think at least if we take into account all of the 5 components, it goes a long way in saying that, or agreeing with the idea of KISS, keep it simple, stupid, where this is common sense if you really dumb things down to its bare bones. Organization is the most boring of the 5, I think, but it is also probably the biggest factor amongst the 5. Because
I would argue it's the most important.
Well, then, yeah, I'm more right. You're more wrong.
Go ahead. Yes.
No, I think it's. I can get where you're coming from. It forms the basis of everything. If you don't know what you're doing and you don't know where things are, well, then you're fucked. Basically, you're right. Like, it's as simple as that.
I love that
that's
so much.
It's really boring. It's like it's common sensey, which is fine. but it's like, duh. Like, you already told us about the Earth and all that. Now you got to tell us more about, the other factors, the non-physical things. And yeah, when you brought up work, I was like, man, I don't want to be thinking about work right now, dude.
My bad. Didn't mean to do that. I guess I was just trying to think of, because, this whole book is not just meant to have you become the best Chinese general possible.
Well, wait, what?
Yeah,
What?
It's not. I'm sorry. Sorry, bro. Sorry.
Dude,
If you're already on the way.
200 more?
It is quite a long book. It is quite a doozy.
It's the Pimpa Butterfly, motherfucker.
It's the Pimpa Butterfly of Anthony Cummings' work. It's the one that you go through once and never again. Goes into the attic with the rest of the CDs and albums and vinyl. I have to say, so far, I think Sun Tzu is just spitting the truth, man. You know?
And it makes me believe, dude, with what I had said earlier. This was written such a long time ago that it had such an impact that's why it's so common sensey to us.
Speaking of impact, I would like you to lessen the impact of your voice right now and maybe take a step back from the mic.
All right, I'm gonna take a step back.
All right, very good. Sorry, I didn't mean to be that rude. I just thought, just let you know.
First you bring up work, goddamn, and now this shit.
Okay, maybe a few more step backs. For some reason, you sound loud as fuck to me right now. I don't know why, but
I have no idea. I'm hitting all yellow right now, so.
Well, that's fine. Keep it going. It's probably on mine. But yeah, so I think with Sun Tzu completing the last of the 5 concept factors, we finally know the main 5 things that are important to have before we go to war. But of course, there's much more. There's plenty more we can delve into, and we will at a later time. But for now, I do want to say again, thank you to all of our longtime subscribers on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It has been quite the journey. We appreciate you sticking with us, and I know this is entertainment, right? Everybody has busy lives. Everybody has a ton of things that they're juggling every day, a ton of things that they're concerned about. Mm-hmm. But we just hope, whenever you do tune in, that we can be a little bit of comedy for you, maybe a little bit of philosophy. How else would you describe what we talk about, Tom? What do you think our main points of speech are?
Well, I think we have 3 main buckets that we hit.
Sure.
We hit basketball, a beloved sport of ours. We, for sure, maybe in a different life, or maybe this life if we make it, wish we were basketball analysts full time.
We would love that.
Yeah.
We would love that so much.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we're going to be talking a lot about basketball, and it's a reason why our icon has purple and gold. We are diehard Laker fans. Arjun, not so much. Me, definitely.
Come on. Let's not spread lies.
Hey, do I need to show that Clipper game picture that you had a couple years back? Yeah, you had a little Clipper fan going on right there.
Oh, that's actually true. Let's talk about that. We got a little bit of time. So that's surprising. No, I'll tell you. I'd expect that today. I just got to say, I'd expect the D to bring up some old receipts today. But if he's going to bring up receipts, I can explain. So years ago, a buddy of mine was visiting the LA area, and we thought, you know what, we might as well go check out a game, a Clipper game. Okay. And we were actually, so this was actually a Clipper game, mind you. Okay. So my buddy, he didn't have any Clippers gear, and you're probably wondering, and you did? What the hell? You had Clippers gear? It's because I was a fan of Blake Griffin. I was because it was like his rookie year, like the year after that or something.
Sure.
And I was like, man, this guy's really, really cool. Let me see if I can get like his jersey on the cheap. Because here's the thing that actually saves my face here. It's not that I have Clippers gear. I just collected jerseys of my favorite players. I have Baron Davis jerseys from the Warriors, from the Knicks, from the Cavs even. And, I have, of course, Kobe Bryant. I had a LeBron James jersey back when he was on the Cavs for the first time. And so for me, I wanted to get a Blake Griffin, and I found this really cool looking, it was like an alternate uniform, with like the black color, red and blue, not really all white like you're used to. And so that's why I was rocking it, because I knew I had a Lakers, Kobe jersey as well. but I knew my buddy was going to be wearing his because he only had the one.
Sure.
So I was like, you know what? This makes sense. We're going to a Clipper game. Might as well rock this one. Where else would I wear this? I can't get caught seen with this at a non-Clipper game, right? Because that'd be blasphemous.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could argue I shouldn't have put that as my profile picture back in the day because you're not the first one to mention this. I think other people were like, dude, how could you? I'm like, what do you mean, how could you? Like, your picture. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, it was, I don't know, the hat? Or you were talking about the hat? Like, no, the jersey. Why are you wearing a Blake Griffin jersey? But in any case, I don't regret it. I just think it felt appropriate at the time. Sometimes, like Joe Rogan, you deal with the information that's present. And you may not know the updated story. You may not know the full...
So you'll get a lot of excuses from both parties. Okay, I won't excuse
mostly
myself
for me.
from that.
Mostly for me. To be honest, you'll notice I tend to like kind of like wrestle my way out of a hole and try to cover up the hole as quickly as possible.
I'll be too drunk to try to do anything about it. So I'm just,
he lets it happen.
Be like, whatever. Okay. Second point or second bucket is definitely gonna be with blanket.
I'd say music, right?
Yeah, I'd say music. It's a tie-up. It really depends, right? It's a third bucket. Music we're really into a lot. I am more overarching in theme. I dabble in multiple genres, but the one genre that I dive more heavily into than others is hip-hop and rap, which is what Arjun is into. Though he is stuck in a decade of music, I try to pull him out, listen to, the GOATs of our time now.
Don't say it. Don't say the GOATs of our time.
No, I can't. His name is, it's like Voldemort right now. It's a little poisonous, so I'm not going to even say it.
But I will say... I appreciate Don exposing me to new music, but beyond that, I am actually really into alternative rock as well. I know we don't talk about this too much.
Yeah, you just got into the freaking Red Hot Chili Peppers like not too long ago, man.
Yeah, like literally. No, to be honest, I literally got into them. And this is weird to say because they've been around for like decades, like longer than I was born. I heard their hits before. Don't get me wrong; it's impossible to avoid their hits. But I really started listening, album by album, about I want to say 2 years ago, starting from like 1984. And I'm so slow. Don knows how slow I am.
Yeah, this was part of his queue as of maybe high school.
No. I added like all the albums to my queue about 2 years ago and just started slowly working my way through it. But dude, the way I process this, the way I digest the Red Hot Chili Peppers music, I play every album multiple times for sure. Maybe not the earlier ones, which were more heavy with like the funk rock and funk rap, which sounded awful to me. I know that's blasphemous to say, but for me, I didn't like it at all. When I think it was Mother's Milk in 1989 or 1990, that's when things started really looking up. I was like, okay, wow, they got some hits here. And then, of course, Blood, Sugar, Sex, and Magic with Under the Bridge. I mean, how can you forget that ballad? Probably the one single that put them over the top. And then, of course, Californication. You got By the Way. Right now, I'm listening to I'm With You, the album from 2011. So I'm about 9 years behind now. I'm working my way through my queue. But the greater point I'm trying to make is, with alternative rock, I have a very select handful of artists that I really, really like, and I delve into those. So if you, Don, ever want to have a conversation about either the Black Keys, Red Hot Chili Peppers, or Phoenix, I think we can definitely get into those and have a in-depth conversation. So for me, I wouldn't call myself as overarching as the D, but I do have multiple genres that I dabble into. And of course, I'm also interested in like older music as well, like maybe jazz from the 50s, 60s, some funk, some disco from the 70s, 80s, primarily because from time to time, we do the podcast now, but Don and I, people may not know, we used to be official rappers and producers, and we still dabble a little bit. Don is working on some new music right now as we speak. Working in quotes a little bit. But because we sample music, it is important for me at least to listen to a lot of the oldies and goodies, because you never know what instrumental, what riff, what vocal you might like, and you might want to turn into something completely different. So I appreciate that Don shares my passion for hip-hop music in particular, because I think we have very diverse opinion. I mean, you heard his points about Lupe, You heard mine about Kendrick and Lupe. And this will continue. We have different top fives. We have, different opinions about who's the GOAT, who's not. You know, and so I would say for sure music is up there. But the third bucket, Don, what would you say is the third bucket that our audience can get used to over time?
I'd say it's current events. Current events tends to be the trend nowadays. I say it's more on the political side more often than not. It deals with our own applications of what's going on and applying some philosophies that we've learned in life or are still learning to what's going on in the world. I think it's an interesting take that we have. I think it's a very unique take that you won't get on places like The Vulture or whatever you were on, or Oxford Press. What was the other? The school one?
It was the Oxford Student Journal.
Sorry,
okay.
I apologize.
45th edition. Yes. Come on.
It's definitely something else. And yeah, sadly, to many, I must say, we will be dabbling into some British politics for whatever reason.
Why you gotta say sadly though? Like, golly, I mean, you know how much I love talking about some Boris Johnson, some Jacob Rees-Mogg, some Nigel Farage, these colorful characters across the pond. But you gotta start off with sadly.
Man, I'm just saying, like,
nobody gives a damn. I
there, you said it, not me. I'm trying to be nice here.
I said it. But you never know. I may get one or two references out there. I always do.
Right.
I always tend to.
Big Dick Boris Johnson. I'll give him that, man. That dude.
There you go.
Ever since Arjun introduced me to him, he has been nothing but a very
hilarious,
charismatic leader, I'd say.
I think so. I mean, obviously, it's all just fun and games from across the pond. It's not like we have vested stakes in what's happening over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, beyond those three buckets, we have some random things coming up. Like Arjun said, we are part-time hip-hop artists that aren't signed to a label, except the SoCal DNA.
There you go.
So we're producing music as it comes. We both work full-time jobs, and we are full-time professionals at that, where, sometimes we just can't get to the true loves of our life. And the true passions of our life, but we do what we can with the limited amount of time that we have, and we hope that this podcast, if you're listening, can shed light on that passion of ours and let you listen to something a little bit different than what's already out there.
And maybe it could also inspire you. A lot of times when you see two blokes, there I am using British slang again, but two blokes just kind of having a good time talking about anything, right? Just shooting the breeze. Yeah. Making time to do this on a regular basis. So hopefully it inspires some of you to make the time for your passions, make the time for your loves.
Oh, that's a good one.
Maybe this is a jumping off point. Maybe you guys will have your own podcast, and we would love to tune in. By all means, if Don's friends are doing any podcasts, the few friends that Don has that listen to the podcast, if they want to chime in, that'll be fantastic. As a matter of fact, Don, I think later on we may have to bring in some surprise guests every now and then, just to kind of keep everyone on their toes. That might be fun. Yeah. But we have plenty more surprises and plenty more entertaining Wednesdays coming your way. And again, from the bottom of our hearts, we want to say thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope to continue it for both our enjoyment, our betterment as individuals, and also for your enjoyment. And until next time, my friends, stay frosty.